Hey everyone, this is Scott, Great Scott on Muscle Forums I'm on, and I wanted to go through a quick rundown on this trailer from Cross RC. I just got done building this T003 mobile crane, and I was kind of thinking about having a trailer with it, but I really didn't solidify it until I built this bumper mount back here and put a pin hitch on there, and then pretty much figured I wanted a trailer to go with it. Battery actually goes up inside there. It's just hooked up for demonstration. And I searched and couldn't really find what I was looking for. And then a couple of forums and on Facebook, they suggested I look at Cross RC. And Cross has two trailers. There's this one, and then there's one that has two axles, one in front, one in back, instead of the two in the middle like this. And I decided on this one, and I searched on the internet for a couple of videos, and there's two real notable videos. One of them is just the guy that put a hydraulic lift in it. It's really cool actually, but really doesn't describe the trailer. And then there's another guy, kind of goes over the trailer, but not really in that much detail. So this is going to kind of be a detailed overview of the trailer and the build process. So, sorry, I need to do this with one hand. Unplug, and unplug the Dean's plug. Alrighty. So, pin hitch comes out, trailer comes out. Okay. So I ordered this direct from Cross RC, and it comes with a kit, and the packaging comes in that box right there. You can see all the trash that's in there. And not really packed very tightly, a lot of bags. For a kit, it was adequate. It comes with the sides all down and everything apart on the actual chassis. When you build this thing, really, it's really two builds. You're building the box, and then you're building the chassis. And if you read through the instructions, you can find out that you can kind of do them both at the same time. The only thing I recommend is this is ABS, and this back here is ABS. Pick a color for the tongue and the back bumper and do those first like I've done, because they come this muted like banana color. I think it's just raw ABS. And same thing with this right here. And then paint those guys first, that way they can be incorporated into the chassis. So first thing I'm going to start with is the chassis itself. Now these are not the original wheels, of course, the ones that come with it. Those are match the TRX6 wheels, and to my surprise I actually was able to. Here are the original wheels. See, they're a little smaller. Go into more on those a little bit. Sorry for the close-up. So first, starting with the chassis, the build was not that terrible. Here is the instruction book for it. It's not white out. And one thing that you'll notice, no matter what page I turn to, you get a page with some writing on it, that none of the writing's in English. And for those of us who only speak English, but really it's illustrated very well, so you don't really need it. But I'll go into the instructions in a little bit. So the trailer pretty much went together pretty well. And the part that you need from the instruction manual is really the lengths of the screws, and those are all listed. It's very clear. There's only a little bit of confusion building. I mean, this definitely wasn't the worst build I've ever done. One of the things was like the rod ends. There's 3 sizes listed, and there's not a really good description on which size goes where. Well, if you actually look at it, 4 of them go down here from the bottom of the shocks, and the other 12 go up here in all the linkage. So as long as you sort that out, it's pretty easy. One of the problems with the build, it's not terrible, but it is a problem, is that the part numbers in the instruction manual do not match the parts in the part trees. Really, as long as you pay attention, it's not that big of a deal. Two things that come pre-assembled, thankfully, are one, the shocks. You got to put on the rod ends, but the shocks themselves come pre-assembled, which I love because I hate building shocks. I don't know what it is, I just hate building them. And then the axle assemblies are also come pre-built. Now, putting together probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. However, there's a lot of hardware holding these guys together, so it's taken just a little bit of time. They come pre-built. Now, one thing about that is they have that 3-link bolt coming out the top, and that nylock is on that 3-link. You got to take it off because it won't work any other way. But that bolt is captured in the axle, so you can twist that off and put it back on without any problems. Other than that, it did go together fairly well. One thing I will say is getting the impression this is kind of I get the idea that it's kind of a leftover parts build, really. They used definitely existing part trees to put it together. But it went together very well. The frame rails are very, very stout, and the hitch is stout, the tongue, and then they include an actual metal hitch, which is nice. This right here is the color of all the parts. This guy, these guys, and the bed when you start out. I don't know why I didn't paint that, but didn't paint it. So something else about the chassis is it comes with a fairly well built LED harness. This isn't that one. Like a lot of RCs, this one I suspected was 3 volt, and I don't know why manufacturers do that. It's not just Cross, but a lot of the more mainstream RC makers put 3 volt lighting systems in. I don't know if they get bulbs cheaper or what, but I really suspected this was a 3 volt system, so I hooked it up to a 6 volt system and got a brilliant flash of light out of all the LEDs, and then they were done. I expected it, so I just built another harness, and there it is. And it plugs in with that mini Deans into the rig. Now, I think that's all there on this guy. On one hand, I'm going to flip it back over. And the next part of the build is the box. And this guy gets glued together. You need something that is a thick glue that does ABS, because this is ABS, it's not polycarbonate. And I recommend something with a fairly long cure time. So the problem with this is there are cut grooves right here. There's cut grooves in each one of these. And the best way to start is to put the base down and then glue these together and clamp them. The problem is that there's no alignment on any of this stuff. The instruction manual says that the bed plate should be 1 millimeter out from where it interfaces with this. Well, good luck lining that up when you got glue that's drying underneath you. So that was a little annoying. Plus, the grooves themselves just barely allow the parts to fit. I mean, if you kind of squeeze everything together, the parts actually stay together. They won't stay together if you move them, but they will stay together just sitting there statically. So when you've got glue in this thing and you're trying to get all the parts together, they just barely fit. What I think I would have preferred to see is everything get bolted together. And in fact, if I would have thought about it for a little bit longer, I wouldn't have glued this together at all. I would have just printed up some brackets and then drilled a few holes and bolted all this together. That probably would have been a lot easier, if not pleasant experience. But really, it went together okay. Like I said, there's some things that I didn't really care about putting together, but it went together okay. The most pain in the butt part about gluing everything together though are these guys right here. The actual brackets that hold it onto the trailer. And the reason being is because just that little part, hold on, I gotta do this one hand. Okay, so actually this is a better view. Sorry for the poor camera work here. All right, so you can actually see the glued joint right there. See a little gap underneath there? That's actually the glued joint. So these cross members get glued too, and the cross members are the exact same part. You can kind of see it over on this side. I don't know how the camera's gonna pick that up. But you can see that glued joint. And the problem is there's no alignment at all on that to tell you if you're in the right spot. And that's actually at an angle, that cross piece. So if you're not careful, you can lay down that bracket so it's pointing inwards, which would mean that you can't line it up to the chassis at all. I kind of understand why they didn't go with separate parts and have that bracket that hangs down actually molded into those cross beams. Because they said it's the same part, so they saved a little bit of money, but it would have made it a much better build experience without having to glue that little guy on there. It really was a kind of a pain to do. Like I said, if I would have thought about it more, I would have just left all that off and would have just printed up brackets and then bolted all this thing together. So the last part, again, are the wheels. And, you know, when I first started assembling these guys, I was thinking that these guys are really a kind of a chintzy beadlock. It really is. You know, this is something that I'm almost certain that if you tried putting power to it, the beadlock ring would slip and the hex would strip out. However, given that this is supposed to be for a trailer, I'm more than confident this thing would serve as a perfectly good trailer tire. So this is, I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I'll find something, but yeah, I can't use them as drive wheels. They just won't last. So one thing about this, like I said, I think with this kit, they kind of cobbled together existing parts to make this work. Because right here are the leftover part trees. And they're all pretty much the same part tree. Yeah, 4 of them, and there's a lot of leftover parts, not to mention here's some more leftover parts. Okay, it does come with extended hexes. Now, I was kind of excited about that because the track width of the trailer is a little bit narrower than the track width of the TRX6, so I was figuring I could use those to expand the track width. Well, no. When I put those on and I put the TRX6 tires on, you only have about 2 threads sticking out. So, yeah, it doesn't work. So as far as the overall build goes, the only other annoying thing I'd say is that the hexes on the inside, the hex pins actually are somewhat annoying in that most hex pins, the pin goes in the hex and it kind of stays there. So you can have a little bit of tilt on the axle and it's still there. These hex pins are really, really loose. And if you have that axle anywhere besides dead flat, the hex pins will fall out. And you end up spending a little while chasing them, trying to get the hex on there before the pin falls out. And you might be saying, they're trailer wheels. They just get pulled along. Why do you need hex pins and hexes? Well, you need to hold, the hex pin holds the axle, which the threads are attached to. That holds the hex and that holds the tire inside the hex. So if that hex pin isn't there, when you go to try to put on the bolt, that axle will just spin on the tire. So you need it all. So price and value. So overall, I paid $250 US for this, and there's a couple of different ways to kind of look at it. I mean, this is big. It is a large trailer, which is one of the reasons why I got it, because it does somewhat go to scale with the TRX6 mobile crane, which is cool. However, looking at it just from, I'd say, RC value, I think, given that it's a kit, I think 250, this is my opinion, I think 250 is a little bit expensive for it. It's not a bad kit. It went together well, but the like I said, it just as a kit, I'm thinking 175, 200 shipped is really the right price for this thing. I think if it came assembled and maybe you had to put the box onto the trailer, then that would bump it up to 250. But given that you got to assemble the full thing yourself, well, then that's I don't know. I think it just takes away from the price. Now, another way to look at it is that Cross RC is one of the few people that sell hobby grade trailers like this. So really, it's a take it or leave it kind of deal. So, and given that perspective, they could probably charge more for this because they are kind of the only people in town doing trailers like this. So from that perspective, I guess you could say that 250 isn't bad. I don't know, both ways, potato, potato. Like I said, and I would definitely like to see this as a bolt together, not a glue together. And if I did it again, I'd definitely bolt it together. With that having been said, move the tire, get it more over here. It doesn't look terrible, but I'm not fond of the transition that it goes from the flatbed to the box. Like I said, traveling down the road, it doesn't look bad. Actually, it looks kind of cool, but to me, it's just off. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to print up and build another flatbed to go on here. And then I'll be able to have a flatbed that looks just like that. And I think that'll help with the looks going across. So that is it. That is my thoughts on this trailer. And it really looks a lot better with TRX wheels on it, simply because those, I would have had to have painted the white beadlock rings, which are metal by the way. But those guys were very standoutish, so it probably would have gone black, or I don't know if military green, or it might have gone red to kind of match the TRX6 wheels. But that's it. If you have any questions, go ahead and post up. Oh, one other thing, in case you're wondering, just like all leaf spring suspensions, this guy's stiff and it needs to be worked in. Unless I put a good deal of weight on it, I don't think they'll ever get to the point where they're soft. Of course, I can always take out a leaf, and these guys are built with plastic spacers. So if I pull one, like the big plastic spacer in there out, it'll probably soften up the suspension a little bit. But as for right now, I really don't mind it, so it'll just stay stiff. So if you have any questions, let me know, and thank you for watching.